Hi everybody, Justine here, back again with my mom Laura Wenman, and we are now going to do a very interesting part of the docu-series where this is where I get the questions on, how do you know it works, and how do you assess emotions through this, and how can you read the brain, and what can you do? So when we can actually go through the first foundational drawing process that I learned, that I've been using with people here in the UK. And obviously my mom has adapted and grown this process even further to an even more advanced level. So she'll be able to give case studies. I'll be able to give case studies. I've got at least 15 years worth of experience in this. Mom, how many years experience have you got in this, with practicing this technique?
Oh, it's been a while, so more than 3 decades at least.
So between the two of us, we've got at least 45 years worth of research and experience to say and know how this works. So when you have that question, how do you know? Now you know why. It's been tried and tested. Both my mom and I are working with so many students per week on a daily basis. So then that's how you know just how deep we're getting into these things. Okay, so whenever just a bit of a quick background history. My mom is going to break down the technical part of the actual drawing process on how people draw and how she's taught them how to do drawing. And then I'm going to explain how, obviously part of my mom's students, watching my mom's students and myself teaching, how I started to identify the emotion connection to this part. Okay, so Mom, if we just, do you want to start? You were saying there were 3 types of drawings that you take people on. Do you want to just briefly give that first before we go and break down, just very basic what that helps with students in each step? We're going to break down each one.
Okay, so Justina, it's very much aligned to almost like the universal rules. Okay, so globally, this is how drawing sort of works, where your first leg would be rule of thumb drawing. So just to give you an example, I'll put something out in front of you and then you just draw it. So no thinking, no prompting, you just quickly draw it. Then your second leg is drawing with accuracy. So after you've drawn it, then you just go check. And then the third leg is precision. So you go and double check and triple check. So that's basically the 3 legs. It's also connected to the 3 different personalities and also the 3 different reasons. So, for example, with rule of thumb, probably a very good example is if you're a fashion designer, you would get the garment down just very, very basic, very, very quickly, more or less, just to get the gist of how the fabric is going to fall and relate to the body. And then accuracy, then that same drawing, you would just make it a little bit more accurate for the pattern maker. And obviously be in sync with the pattern maker, because the pattern maker has now measured the body. And then the final leg for this particular project, precision, is when they're fitting the garment to make sure that, there's absolute symmetry. So, for example, in the top part, in the mid part, and things like that. So there's different legs or different ways of drawing, depending on what is required and depending on the personality of the person.
Okay, for example, so let's just add another analogy. How would you give an analogy if you were baking a cake? Can you give an analogy around that, where they would fit into those 3 legs?
I think you've got to be quite a brilliant scientist or a chemist to be able to bake a cake successfully. So there is measurements as well. So it's measuring, you know, ratios, time, and things like that.
So would the first leg be almost getting the ingredients together first? You know, like what ingredients do we need? Would it be need flour? Would we need cocoa?
Yeah, I think that's a very good example. So rule of thumb is just quickly look at the ingredients that is required. Yeah.
Okay, so we would just look at what ingredients we would need to bake a cake. So in other words, we wouldn't use castor oil or we wouldn't use olive oil. So you would just need to say what are the general ingredients. Okay, then you've then got the next leg, and with that
accuracy. So you take those ingredients that you've actually chosen and you measure them out accordingly.
Okay.
So 2 cups of flour, a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder. So now you're being more accurate.
Okay. And then the last part would actually be baking the cake, bringing it all together.
Well, yeah, precision is also a process of, the process is obviously so important, where you've got to mix your dry ingredients together first. Okay. And then add, you know, the wet ingredients afterwards.
Yes.
In order to get a certain effect. And
then you said then the personality would then be, as an example, how the person would want to decorate the cake afterwards. So it would be depending on what your likes are. You might want chocolate icing or vanilla icing, or you might want to now add artwork on there, just so that the viewers can have it really, really simply broken down for them.
Yeah, I actually like the fact that you use the cake, because everyone can relate to that and it's universal. But also, thanks for reminding me. So if I mean, the last time I baked a cake was probably about 20 years ago. Or I know you're smiling. You bake cakes probably more than your own mother. Then I look at my friend Ali, who owns a bakery. So when I go and visit her, she's got the ingredients out and she doesn't even measure, Justine. She just knows, you know. So that's her level of skill, that's her expertise. Now, if she had to ask me to bake the same cake, I would be anal, because I would have to read and refer, you know, to that recipe book constantly. And, you know, I'd obviously be very pedantic and make sure that I measure absolutely everything. And I probably won't even talk to anyone. I wouldn't be able to, because I'm focusing so much.
So that's quite interesting, because what you're saying is, you know, a lot of people then when they start their drawing process is like that as well, where they are afraid to make mistakes, they're afraid to get things wrong, they are judging themselves and expecting themselves to be professional bakers before they've even learned about the ingredients, before they've even applied it. And then either they give up or they just go, oh, I just want to go abstract, but they don't really understand the meaning behind abstract.
Yes.
And they also leave their picture the way it is and go, oh, well, I'm just going to leave it like that because I don't want to make the changes. Where when you get to Ali's part, she has done it so many times over and over and over and over, practiced, made 10,000 million quadrillion cakes, that in the end it's so cemented into her brain that she now knows the basic recipe, but then will go and change and experiment, and is now at a level of experimenting to a whole new level. So that's when you see all these emerging artists come out and they're doing something different or new or unique or things like that.
Yes, because they're so secure in their knowledge of the basics. So, you know, repetition is the mother of skill. I mean, you can't escape that.
Yeah.
It really is. So for me, when I see Ali, whatever she's doing is actually shifted from the conscious to the subconscious. I suppose like driving a car. You don't have to be aware of the petrol and the clutch because it's automatic. So for, you know.
Yes.
So definitely, and what you were saying as well with with experienced artists, that's when instinct takes over, because your consciousness has been sorted out. It knows what it does. So you go to the next realm of your brain, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to sound too technical or airy-fairy, but I suppose, look, it's like ballet dancers as well. When you first start, you've got to understand timing, and you've got to make sure your muscles are strong enough, and it's one step at a time. And then when you see an experienced dancer, they become one with the music. I mean, the music they don't even hear anymore. It's probably in every cell of their body. It transcends to that level.